old me has gone away. My journey has just begun. Life holds so many facets, this earth is only one. Just think of me as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort, where there are no days and years. Think of how I must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of me as living in the hearts of those I touched, for nothing loved is ever lost, and I know I, too, was loved so much.
Well, I thought Virgil would be doing this for me, considering I'm 22 months older than him, so be it. Reflecting back, when I think about Virgil, I think of a person who was a joy to be around due to his pleasant and easygoing personality. He was a person who marched his own drum beat, was a bit of a nonconformist, which added to making him a very interesting and enjoyable person to be in the company of. For example, Virgil had a keen eye for fashion, expensive clothes. He introduced folks in Greensboro to wearing cowboy boots. But when he took them off, his very fashionable clothes, he never hung them up. He threw them on the floor and walked on them. So when we were boys, he and I used to get into quite a few arguments about him throwing his clothes on the floor and walking on them and not hanging them up. Virgil was a person who liked to read, and in particular, enjoyed reading biographicals of the life of famous people, like Steve Jobs, who was credited with inventing the iPhone. There were many other books on the life of noted persons in his library. Also, he was a person who liked to talk about social events, equal rights. He didn't mind going to jail when he had to. There are many things I can say about Virgil. Glasses fogging up. But he liked expensive, fancy cars. Mercedes, BMWs, Lexus, Rivieras. You could also say that he didn't mind wrecking them from time to time. As a boy, I remember Virgil managed to wreck every car we had at one time or another due to driving too fast, including a few school buses. While he was a school bus driver at Dudley High School, he managed to wreck that too. Virgil enjoyed much about life, in addition to being an avid reader. He was a good golfer, excellent cook, a good swimmer, loved a diverse mix of music, and was fond of traveling. But when I think of, in my mind's eye, I think of Virgil, Virgil's most enjoyable moments in life were the moments he spent at Club 2110 on Carlo Road, fellowship with close friends and family. I have many pictures, mental pictures of Virgil sitting at the bar, not a big talker, but a good listener, and I will cherish those moments forever. I'd like to thank my sister Valerie, the class is getting worse and worse here, for serving as Virgil's main care provider when Virgil's Parkinson's disease got worse and worse. So on behalf of all of us, thank you, Valerie, for being taking care of Virgil, same as you did for Mom and Dad. I think it's time for me to sit down. Thank you.
Virgil loved people, and he loved not only people, but he loved the fact that he could give back and give forward to those who would come. He risked his life. Most of them in 1960, when they were there in North Carolina A&T, marching and moving and making things happen, they were risking their lives for us.
First thing I want to say, I never wanted to speak at anyone's funeral before. Never. Even my parents. But my brother, I had to say something. Second of all, I want to say, I didn't like my brother much growing up. He used to beat me up all the time. Just make me change the TV for him. I was of remote control before remotes came out. And I would rebel that after I got bigger, he couldn't catch me. So I wouldn't do it anymore. And he would run me around this block, but he couldn't catch me. I got faster than him. But I wanted to say that years later, I used to go by his house on Broad Avenue, and we would sit down and have deep conversations about a variety of subjects. So one particular night, I asked him, I said, "Bruh, why were you so mean to me growing up? Why did you beat me up? Carry on." He said, "Well, I'll tell you. I was building strength and courage in you." I said, "Strength and courage?" He said, "Yes." He said, "When I would twist your arms back and make you change the TV, I was building strength. And when you started rebelling, I was building courage." I said, okay, I need that. I need that. So another night, and this night changed my life forever. I was in banking. I was the vice president of Greensboro National Bank, a black bank. And I would make loans to people based on not their credit, but their character. So I took it kind of serious when they didn't pay me back. You know, I said, wait a minute. So anyway, make a long story short, he doesn't have nowhere to go, but I'm just saying. He said, "Bruh, take this book, How to Become Financially Independent by Investing in Real Estate." It changed my life. That night, it changed my life. He said, "You can take a little property, buy it for little or nothing, fix it up, rent it out, sell it, and buy another one." I said, "Oh my goodness." I said, "That's an avenue to a new career." I wanted to be an entrepreneur anyway. It was just in my blood, just to be an entrepreneur. Just wanted to work for myself. So, Virgil was in real estate. He had a little property listed, a duplex. I bought it, $7,000. It was run down, needed work, but I fixed it up, rented it out, and sold it for $25,000. I bought another one from Virgil. He was a listing agent for $10,000. Fixed it up, rented it out, sold it for $30,000. I quit my job. I quit my job. I said, "I can do this." Virgil said, "Yeah, you can do it." He had confidence in me and showed me what to do. So anyway, to make a long story short, let me get my notes out because I don't want to miss anything. That year was 1982. 1982. I hadn't worked for anybody else but myself for 38 years. And I'm proud to say it. I purchased over 45 properties because of him. He showed me the way. He was the wind beneath my wings. He was not only my brother, he was my mentor, my hero. I loved him, and I still love him today. Thank you. Thank you.
And so with that verse, God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whosoever believed in him would not perish, but they would have eternal life. And for that, we give God glory. We give God glory for the creation of Virgil Spaulding, that dust that he breathed in to give him life more abundantly. Virgil's sacrifice while he was here He gave what he could. He loved the way that he could. He was willing to share his gifts and his talents. He didn't want to keep it to himself. So we celebrate him today, his life, for a life well lived.
I wanted to touch on some things that stood out from my perspective as a son. Number one, my dad had a vast appreciation of music. We spent a lot of times at Peaches Records, going through his collection, enhancing his collection. And my strongest memories as a child were enveloped with music that he gave me and my brother. My dad was an avid reader. He maintained a thirst of knowledge that led him to read hundreds of books. He taught me to research and to master anything that will make me better. My dad had a great sense of humor. He would say things I would laugh at weeks after he said it. We were at the nursing home, and this lady kept asking him, what are you mixed with? What are you mixed with? And my dad got tired of it after a while and said, I mix Chinese and Japanese. The lady that ended the conversation, she never bothered him again. My dad was frugal. He loved cars, he loved to dress, but he was frugal as well. An example of that was he trained me how to work the knife in the toaster so he can keep the toaster down so we can make toast. I said, my dad, a toaster's $15. We worked that toaster till we left Beaverbrook Place, we had that same toaster. That was an example of frugality. My dad was an excellent cook. I made several attempts to master his barbecue chicken, but could not avail to anything that he cooked. I couldn't touch it. The food was mixed with the music, and the music was mixed with neighborhood and camaraderie. And we had so many impromptu meetings at the house. It would just start from nothing, and next thing you know, we have everybody there, and we're fellowshipping and having a great time. And us as kids, it was a fond memory in terms of our childhood. My dad wasn't much of a talker. He wasn't ever charged with spitting out a lot of stuff that wasn't meaningful. If he spoke, he meant it. He meant what he said what he meant. So, and that was a trait I think a lot of us have here. So I think that was carried on. A very important part of that, he loved me and my brother. He loved us dearly. And he showed his love, not so much through talk, but through action. So he showed us the way, showed us how to be a man, showed us how to take care of ourselves, and that's what we carry on to this day. My dad moved to Atlanta November of 2016. I was given an opportunity to spend additional time with him. Due to his illness, we had to make his body made several swings. There were days where he could outwalk me. There was days he couldn't move at all. There was days that he had a right state of mind, and there was days he didn't. What I wanted to do was meet him where it was and show him that the investment that he made in me, he was gonna get it back. He was gonna get that first-class service that he gave me. My dad battled Parkinson's for the better part of 15 years. He never complained once. I never heard him complain. I never heard him say, why me? He went through it. He did it with dignity. He did it with grace all the way to the last time I saw him. He managed himself with grace and dignity. So I will never forget that. And I will never forget the experience that I had with him coming down and actually spending the last 4 years of his life with me. I would like to thank my family for caring for the love and support of my dad during his Parkinson's. I would like to thank my wife, Tish, my daughter, Chandler and Cohen, for their patience and understanding, because there was a lot of swinging, a lot of movement, a lot of going back and forth, and they were very patient. Nobody was upset. They knew what it was, and they supported me as well. I would like to thank my mother, Loretta, and her sisters. They couldn't be here today, but they played a big part in terms of visitation. They went to see him, they went to check on him. So it wasn't just me, and he had other input in terms of people coming to see him. I would like to thank my Aunt Val. She supported my dad's processes for 10 years without wavering. Doctor's appointments, going to the bank, going here, going there, unwavering support. When he moved to Atlanta, you did the same thing. So I thank you so much for what you've done. I would like to thank my Uncle Vernon. His business aspects, what he did in terms of managing the house, managing the properties, managing everything, and did it without question, did it without wavering, and also lend support in terms of our daily processes. I thank you for everything that you've done as well, Uncle Bill. Uncle Vint and Aunt Paula, we had brainstorming sessions in terms of best practices. What should we do? How should we go about doing it? You guys were knee deep from beginning to end, and I can't thank you enough for what you did in terms of supporting me. My dad is in a better place. I'm not concerned with that. My dad, the last time I saw him, prior to him declining, had a Bible in his hand. When I walked in the room, he was reading the Bible. And he read that Bible many times. This was not his first time reading the Bible. He was well versed in scripture. So I'm not concerned where he is today. And I'm not gonna be selfish and say, I wish he was here, because he was going through a lot. That back end, he was going through a lot. And the next morning that I woke up, I felt a sense of relief and I felt a sense of sadness combined, because I knew he wasn't suffering anymore. I knew he was with the angels. I know he was with my dad, my brother, and my grandparents. I know they're there together now. So that's what gives me solace, and that's what makes me get through, and that's what makes me stand here today and let you know everything's gonna be all right. We're gonna get through this thing, and we're gonna be on to something else, and we're gonna be better for it, because that's exactly what he would have wanted. So I thank you today, and I thank everybody that came out braving COVID and riots and everything else to make this happen today. And I just want to thank everybody, and I wish everybody safe travels back home. Thank you.
Everyone felt like they were a good friend of Virgil's, because that is the way he embraced you and made you feel. To know him was to love him. He had a quiet spirit, but his spirit was infectious. A giant, because he not only loved his family, but he loved outside of his family. He loved his St. James family. He gave to them. We're representing St. James today. He loved his A&T Aggie family. We're here, we're represented today. He wanted to create a path for each of us to love, and most importantly for us to grow. But not only just grow, but grow in an environment that was easier and better. And so he gave of himself so that we could grow.